Shalom, shalom. I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakak, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also, want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And shalom to the elect, the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. This is Shabai, the brother Shabai from GMS Denver. And today I'm going to read Ecclesiastes, the fifth chapter. All right. It says, keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of the Most High, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Okay. So when you come to the house of the Most High, which is when you see those men on the street corners teaching the scriptures, the Hebrew Israelites, namely of GMS, because we believe through faith and through the Spirit that we do have 100% truth. You know, when you come across the men of GMS, the men of Yahweh Shem Yoshai, it's better for you just to, if you come across a camp, it's better to just go up and listen. Maybe you raise your hand if you have a question. Do it in decency and in order, right? Everything should be done in order, all right? And when you go to because that's the house of the Most High, all right? Whether you're able to receive it or not, the men who are teaching on the street corners represent the house of Yahweh, okay? You don't go up and it's not the time to act like, show that what you know about the Bible or what your opinion is on the Bible, you know? And maybe you do have some knowledge, maybe you have a little bit of insight, right? And that's good, but just keep that to yourself because you have men who have been set up by Yahweh Bashem Yoshai to teach on these street corners and to teach the children of Israel, the scriptures and the truth, right? Jeremiah 3 and verse 15 at the top of your screen, it says, and I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. Okay. So the Most High, He's already done his having mercy on you. Well, He's not done having. He's giving mercy. He's having mercy on you by setting up the teachers on the street corners. Okay. So it'd be it would behoove you to listen to the teachers that Yahweh Bashem Yahushai has set up. Okay, come in a humble spirit and a spirit of meekness and humility, and learn. You might learn something. Okay, you don't want to be Proverbs 5 and 10, right? It says, let's read that. Well, verse 5 and 11, it says, and thou mourn at the last when thy flesh and thy body are consumed, and say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof? And I have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined mine ear to them that instructed me. All right? So, that's what it is. You got two ears and one mouth for a reason, right? So it's better to walk up, if you walk up on the camp and you want to learn something, that's just use your two ears that the Most High Yahweh gave you. So that maybe, like I say, you might learn something, okay? And obey the voice of the teachers. And the true teachers are the men who are of GMS out there on the street corners, and we are honoring and glorifying Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, okay? And if you hate instruction, you're gonna walk up on the camp. You're gonna open up your big mouth, and you're gonna give your sacrifice of a fool, like we read in Ecclesiastes. Let's go back to that. Ecclesiastes 5 and 1. All right. Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of the Most High. Be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. See, and you're in a reprobate mind, okay? If you go up there and you're just uttering, blabbing out, talking out your ass, really. You don't know the scriptures. Just because you read the Bible, it doesn't mean you understand the Bible. So just like I say, this is I'm actually doing you a service and telling you, you know, approach the camps with humility. Approach the camps with silence. If you have a question, raise your hand. You wouldn't go into one of Esau Edom's churches in the middle of their service and go and start arguing with the pastor in the pulpit, right? So then why would you do that to the true house of Yahweh, which is set up on the streets in the chief place of concourse? Remember, Proverbs 1 and 20, wisdom crieth out in the streets. Okay? Verse 2, be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before the Most High. For the Most High is in heaven, and thou upon earth. Therefore, let thy words be few. You hear that? Let your words be few. When you cross the men of the Lord, like I say, the best thing you can do is just listen. All right? Listen, right? You don't go up and interrupt or go up there and talk about what you think or what your grandma taught you. No, this is the time to listen, and you might learn something. You might grow in the spirit. If you're the hopeful elect, or if you're the elect, you're the spirit of the elect, guess what? You're gonna you're gonna be activated in the spirit. For a dream cometh through the multitude of business, and a fool's voice is known by the multitude of words. So the word fool, it goes into non-believer, but let's actually get it. I don't think I've ever pulled it up in the. And there's another way to say
Strong's
fool.
H3684. Casil. Casil.
Okay, a fool is a stupid fellow, dullard, simpleton, arrogant one. And really, at the end of the day, it goes back to somebody who doesn't believe the scriptures. You know, so we say you foolish. It's foolish for somebody not to, especially an Israelite. It's foolish for you to not believe the scriptures, because this is our salvation. This is what's going to keep us from, this is going to give us salvation, rescue us from the destruction that's coming to Babylon, America. Okay, we know that it's going to be destroyed by nuclear fire, and so behoove you, it would behoove you to if you're an Israelite, to repent and to come into the fold of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay, but if you're just sitting there talking your ass off, arguing, trying to debate the prophets, man, it says a fool's voice is known by the multitude of his words. You're a non-believer. You don't have respect for the truth. All right. You can't do something simple and walk up to the camp and just listen. You know, I remember when I first came to the camp, which was probably, I don't know how long, it's been a while. I remember I just sat and listened. I didn't say one word, you know, and that's the spirit you should be in. You come to the camps and you just shut the fuck up, honestly, You just be quiet, it's good to be quiet and listen. If you disagree, hey, if you're dealing with the camps of GMS, you disagree, guess what? You're off. Because we have the truth, man. We have the truth, starting out with our elders. Okay? It says, when thou vowest a vow unto the Most High, defer not to pay it, for he hath no pleasure in fools. Pay that which thou hast vowed, right? So if you make a commitment, let's say you wanted to be in a camp, or you wanted to, you want to start, being among the prophets, if you've done enough studying, if you paid your dues, like it says here, and guess what? There, right now, we're in that, under the order of Elder Apostle Tahar. It's not like we're gonna just sit here and have new members and acceptance, but everything is spiritual. If you are diligent, if you come to the camp, if you listen, if you grow in your spirit, then who's to say that the Lord don't put the spirit on the camp or the camp leaders to say, hey, this dude can cross the line? And that's far and few between. And I say that because in my time in the camps, I have, you know, there's only four teachers in Denver. Okay. So that shows you that, this is this is it's I don't want to use the word high turnover, but we don't have a lot of sincere men who are ready to pay the dues, ready to sacrifice and actually be and walk in the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yoshai. And that's all subject to change, with Jacob's trouble and everything coming, picking up, So, but this is the thing, you do definitely gotta you know, prove yourself in this ministry. You can't just walk in and, you know, and all of a sudden you're breaking down the scriptures on the camera and no, it doesn't work like that. Okay. Um, Salakia. It says, when thou oh, I read that. Let's see, verse 5. It says, better is it that thou shouldest not vow than thou shouldest vow and not pay, right? So it's better for you, if you're on the fence and you're like, oh man, I've been studying, I've been learning from the prophets, I've been learning online, I've been, whatever it is, you've been, but if you're not ready to commit to this ministry, commit to the truth. And it's not like this is not a recruiting video. Trust me. It's not what this is. I'm just showing you the seriousness and the solemnness and the dedication and the sincerity that it comes to being a part of the ministry. Okay, you know, and you never know what video you're gonna do, what lesson you're gonna do when you wake up in the morning. I didn't know I was gonna choose this topic, but this the spirit. The spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yoshai. He's, I'm thank Yahweh Bashem Yashai for putting the spirit on me to do the lesson. But that's what it is, man. It's better off to you don't even vow that you don't commit to this, because this is a ministry about commitment and endurance. And if you don't want to be that guy that you think you're on the fence and you finally decide, oh, I want to go prophesy, and then the next thing you know, you stop doing the work. And there's a huge punishment that comes with that. Okay. Um, Let me see. Let's see. What was I gonna grab here? Go grab this precept. Oops. What happened here? Shit. All right. This is Second Timothy 2:22. It says, and you know what? I'll actually pull it right here. Second Timothy 2:22. No, that's not it. Hold up. 2:2. Salakia. I'll start at 1. It says, thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Yahushua HaMashiach. So this takes strength, this takes commitment, this takes endurance to be among the prophets, right? It says, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also. Okay? Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Okay? So it's a it's a serious thing when you come into this ministry, and that's why we commit ourselves to faithful men. All right, faithful men who are able to commit themselves to this thing. Because at the end of the day, this is the main priority. And if you're not built up in the spirit to understand that, you're gonna end up falling out of the truth. You know, and that's compared to that man who you know. Well, let me get this for you real quick. Let's see. Better for them to not have known the truth. KJV. All right. Second Peter. Go to Second Peter. Let's see. Let's see. Slovakia. Go to Second Peter 2:21. It says at the top of your screen, it says, "For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than after they have known it to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. But it has happened unto them according to the true proverb, the dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the soul that was washed to her wallowing in the mire." You see that? So um that's what it is. You're first of all, it's better off to not know the truth than to commit yourself. You come to the ministry, you sit behind the line, you watch the prophets teach, and you act sincere for a year, maybe even 2 years, and then all of a sudden you just fall out. We've had that happen in our camp. We've had men come to the camp and they think that they want to teach and prophesy, but they're not willing to pay the price. They're not willing to commit. All right. And some of them have went back to the world, right? And when you go back into the world, then the thing is, let's read this. Yeah, let's actually, I should have started a little higher. It says, "For if," verse 20, 2 Peter 2:20, "for if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, and they are again entangled therein and overcome, the latter end is worse with them than the beginning." So it's going to be worse for a man who comes into the ministry. He thinks he wants to be a prophet. He thinks he wants to teach the Holy Scriptures, and then he decides he don't want to do it. The latter end is going to be worse from you. We've seen brothers who fell out the truth. Literally, the next day we hear about them dying on some random judgment from Yahweh Bashem Yoshai. Or we had a brother from our camp a while back. He did this. He was kind of wishy-washy with he would come to camp, then he would not be there, then he'd come back, then we wouldn't see him for a week or two, then he'd come back. He was on the fence, and now if that happened, the ship is run tighter. That wouldn't be allowed at all. You miss a day of camp without having a legitimate excuse, which it's pretty hard to get a legitimate excuse when it comes to doing the Lord's work. You don't miss. You just don't. All right, it goes without saying. But we had a brother that was in the camp a while back, and he was doing that, here today, gone tomorrow type bullshit. And long story short, the guy ended up getting 29 years of prison time, which through the Spirit the Lord had mercy on him. I heard that he got his sentence reduced, or he may have even gotten released because something went in his favor. Okay, and I don't know the full details of his story, but just giving you the example of you know this is this very serious ministry, a serious commitment. You know, and it's a spiritual thing. If you're in the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yashai, it's not like you can say, oh, okay, well, I've done my prophesying, I'm ready to retire. No, the prophets that you read about in the scriptures, they prophesied well into their elder years. Okay, advanced in years, they were still prophesying. Okay, like let's do a let me see, I don't remember off the top, but let's how old was Moses? I will say when he died. How old was Moses? According to the Bible, Deuteronomy 34:7, Moses was 120 years old when he died on Mount Nebo. Despite his advanced age, The text notes that his eye was not dim nor his natural vigor diminished, right? So he was still going hard, even at 120. Okay. So that's why we commit to faithful men, because we're going to be doing this work until Yahweh Bashem Yahushai returns. Okay. So let me go back to, actually, let's see where we at. You know what? Let's see. Let me go back a few. Let's see. I'm going to read a little bit more here. But let's see. I'm making this one short because I got to get ready for camp here shortly. We have camp today. Let's see. Where am I at? Okay, verse 5 and 4, Ecclesiastes. When thou vowest a vow unto the Most High, defer not to pay it, for he hath no pleasure in fools. Pay that which thou hast vowed, right? So you better be committed if you come into the ministry. If you make it up, you make that decision to teach, you better be committed in your spirit. It says, better is it that thou shouldest not vow than thou shouldest vow and not pay. You see that? Suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin. Neither say thou before the angel that it was an error. Wherefore should the Most High be angry at thy voice and destroy the work of thine hands? See? For in the multitude of dreams are many words. There are also diverse vanities, but fear thou the Most High Yahweh. Okay? And there's all kinds of different things that are useless, diverse vanities, right? If thou seest the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment and justice in a province, marvel not at the matter, for he that is higher than the highest regardeth that there be higher than they. Moreover, the profit of the earth is for all, and the king himself is served by the field. Okay? And that's just going into, you know, don't be surprised when you see the poor being oppressed, when you see the Israelites getting devoured basically by the heathen, right? In all kind of ways, know that the Most High and the angels are observing and beholding everything that's done on earth, and there's going to be judgment for all, right? It's all going to come back to judgment of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai at the end of the day. But really, where the spirit went today was, just if you decided to be a prophet or decided to be a part of the ministry, you make sure your spirit ready for it? Is your spirit right? Is your spirit going to be able to endure? Okay, and that goes for me first and foremost. I speak to myself first and foremost when I say that. All right. Let me see. But yeah, the angels, Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, everything's being documented, man. All the oppressions that we go through, all the struggles we go through. Whether it's Esau, Edom, whether it's any, if you work for the heathen, like I happen to work for Elam, um, on on my part-time gig. So, I was just talking to my family in the flesh about that. How these heathen, they've been set up to devour us. They've been set up to be the heathen who they are. When the way they're not going to treat you with honor. They're not going to treat you with humility. They're not going to treat you with fairness, because why? These are heathen. If you work for the so-called white man, or like I say, I work for Elam right now. I have a part-time gig work helping Elam out. Yeah, the thing is you can't expect righteousness to be, pushed in the workplace when you're working with a bunch of heathen. Okay, when even if you were working with Israelites, if they're not in their right mindset, then it's a lost cause. But you guess what? Yahweh, Bashim Yoshai, and the angels are beholding everything. Okay, let me grab that in Proverbs. It's Proverbs 15 and verse 3. Okay, it says right here, Proverbs 15 and verse 3 on the top of the screen, it says, the eyes of Yahweh are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. Okay, and beholding means observing or looking at. You see the chariots sightings, which are the what the world ignorantly calls UFOs. Those are angels. Those are the eyes of Yahweh, right? Because those angels, what the word angel mean, messenger. They're reporting everything to the Heavenly Father, and everything is being spiritually documented. Okay, so if you're being done wrong by the heathen and you're in a righteous mindset, guess what? It's not you. It's not your place to pay back. It's vengeance is of Yahweh's. The scriptures say. Okay, let's see. Let me grab that real quick. Okay, it says, "Dearly," we'll read both of these. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay? So you gotta, like I was saying in my lesson yesterday, you gotta move as wise as a serpent, as harmless as a dove, because Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and the angels are observing the good and the evil. They know what's happening in your personal life. They know what's happening in your work life. They know what's happening everywhere. So it's just our job. That's why it calls us. It says, "Here's the patience and the faith of the saints." Okay. For the day of Isaiah 63 and 4, it says, "For the day of, or I'm sorry, for the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come." Okay. So vengeance is Yahweh Bashem Yoshai. It's not our lot. It's not our job to bring a vengeance upon these heathen, or upon these, even these 2/3. The Most High is gonna handle that. Okay. So let me see. I'm gonna grab that word. Let me grab that word vengeance. All right. Tools. But I just wanted to go in on that, and I'm gonna close this out. But let's grab this word vengeance. Nacham. Also, like the speaker just turned off. So hold on.
Power on. Pairing. Bluetooth connected.
All right. So it says vengeance, and this is in the Hebrew.
Nakam. Second entry, Nekama.
Nacham.
Nekama.
All right. Vengeance, revenge, avenge, quarrel, vengeance, quarrel. See, so the Most High is he's gonna avenge us, right? That's why we are called to be patient, meaning suffer. And I'll close on that verse. Let me get that in Revelation. Um, Revelation 13 and 10, it says, "He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints." And when you go into that word patience, it goes into suffering. So yeah, if you have to deal with suffering and patience. You have to bite the bullet, for lack of better words, and deal with certain situations that you might not want to deal with. But that's because we are in captivity. Because we're still under the curses. All right, we're we have to you have to express and endure with patience. All right. So, with that, I hope the lesson was edifying. I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakak, Radash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also, want to acknowledge all the Akim who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. A shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.